From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, just as we thought a COVID-19 relief bill was on the way, tonight President Trump slams the recently passed bill on Twitter. This while President-elect Joe Biden had tough words of his own on the Trump administration's handling of a major cyber attack. Well, Biden also warned darker days are still ahead in the coronavirus pandemic. Skylar Henry is on Capitol Hill with the latest.
In a pre-holiday address, President-elect Joe Biden had harsh words for President Trump's handling of a suspected Russian cyber attack on multiple companies and federal agencies.
This assault happened on Donald Trump's watch when he wasn't watching. It's still his responsibility as president to defend American interests for the next 4 weeks.
The address comes a day after Congress passed a government spending bill with a $900 billion COVID relief package. The administration says many Americans could start to see direct stimulus payments as soon as next week.
The bill is not a long-term bill, it's a survival bill.
The Senate Minority Leader said that he spoke with the president-elect by phone after the bill's passage and that both agreed that they'll need a, quote, bigger, bolder bill after Mr. Biden takes office.
Congress did its job this week, and I can and I must ask them to do it again next year.
It really is a disgrace.
President Trump posted a video on Twitter blasting the COVID relief bill.
I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600, or else the next administration will have to deliver a COVID relief package, and maybe that administration will be me.
Tuesday, the president issued several more pardons. He gave 2 to former GOP Congressman Duncan Hunter of California, who pled guilty to misuse of campaign funds, and Chris Collins of New York, who pled guilty to conspiring to commit securities fraud and lying to the FBI. President Trump also gave a full pardon to his former campaign aide George Papadopoulos, who pled guilty to lying to the FBI as part of special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into the 2016 election. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
President-elect Biden will nominate Connecticut Education Commissioner Miguel Cardona for the Education Secretary. Now, during his speech today, he gave no timing on when he'll announce his pick for Attorney General. Now, if President Trump does end up signing the bill, ag leaders say Montana farmers and ranchers will see significant benefits from the relief and spending package. The Montana Farm Bureau Federation estimates $13 billion from the $900 billion stimulus package will directly support agriculture. Those leaders say some of the biggest boosts for Montana include more assistance for specialty crop growers and other farmers, along with a major investment in rural broadband service. The bill also includes grants for small meat and poultry processors to upgrade their operations. The extension of the Paycheck Protection Program will also help small farmers pay their employees. Now, Farm Bureau leaders say this package will help farmers and ranchers now, but in the long term, the most important thing will be encouraging demand for their products.
Rather than take package like this, we'd rather have the markets available. And so the hurdle is to, maintain the trade that we're looking at now and expanding trade opportunities for farmers and ranchers. We produce far more than we can consume. So what's going to drive our price is demand.
Now, the Farm Bureau also highlighted the approval of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes Water Compact, which they say will create more stability for ag water users. Well, even with potential financial relief in sight, the fight against COVID-19 rages on. Montana health authorities report another 24 deaths today. 4 of those are from right here in Yellowstone County, where the count has reached 154. 6 are out of Gallatin County, and the rest from the western side of the state. Now, the total Montana victims at this hour stands at 942. Well, tonight, a special report straight from the front lines here in Billings. Nurses who do this every day. They see it, they fight it, and they feel it. Some even more than others.
It's like going to war. It's like you're going in there knowing that the department's going to be full, that you're going to have to wait for rooms, that there's going to be people coming in that are sick.
It's really hard right now to be a nurse, really hard. It's exhausting. And working when people are dying and not their families not being able to come in and visit, just horrid.
From long-term care, the dialysis clinic, and the emergency room. All three nurses, all three facing COVID-19 head on.
Every day we see people that come in and then, 2 weeks later they've passed away.
Brad, Shelley, and Sherry share a lot more than their profession. They're siblings who've been battling COVID-19 on multiple levels.
I found out on the 9th, late on the 9th, I was already at work, that my test was positive.
Sherry works at Canyon Creek Memory Care, the first official coronavirus outbreak in Yellowstone County, infecting dozens of people both inside and outside the facility walls.
Went in the front door and down the stairs where I stayed in quarantine.
Despite immediate precautions and isolation, Sherry's 82-year-old mom, who she lived with and cared for, was already infected.
She was disoriented and confused and starting to get a temperature.
And that was horrible, not to be able to come up and help her, to see my mom for the last time before she left the house. And that was the start of it.
The start of more than 3 months of their most difficult days. Their mom, Darlene Foote, entered the hospital alone. And just 6 days later, John, her husband of 35 years, followed.
They were on the same medical floor and didn't see each other.
With both parents critically ill, all 8 children faced difficult decisions.
We had made the decision. We knew that this was, she didn't want heroic efforts at all. We knew she wanted to be around us.
There was no way that I was not gonna allow her to come home. I would have done whatever it took, because I was not gonna let my mom die in the hospital by herself.
We are all so grateful for that time that we had.
We could all be the nurse at that point and all be kids at that point, so we shared the duties.
John finally made it out of the hospital. He made it home. But the damage from the virus plagued his body. And as Brad traveled with him to Cincinnati to be cared for by another sibling, John fell asleep for the last time. So after 105 days, this family was left to deal with the loss of both parents.
1 was a lot, but then 2 close together, that was the hardest. And trying to get John to his daughters. We didn't make it. We didn't make it to our final destination. He did, but we didn't.
Telling their story was not an easy choice. There's deep hurt and feelings of guilt.
I feel like it's my fault that they got it. I just do.
It's devastated our family. Like, we've all lost something.
But all of Darlene's and John's children, nurses and not, agree on a motive, a plea for all people to take precautions.
It's like, no, no, this is not going away. It's real. Please, please, just wear your mask. It's not asking too much.
Humanity is just being kind to other humans. Like, why would you not do one simple thing to protect someone else?
We're all tired and we're all worn out and we all want it to end, but it's not going to. And it's so much easier to be nice and caring. I hope people realize that at some point and make the sacrifices that are needed to get through this.
And shortly after Q2 chief photographer Paul Humphrey and I did these interviews, Brad contracted COVID-19. Now, the stress it caused his body landed him in emergency surgery and forced him out of work for 3.5 weeks. And even though they've all had COVID now, all 3 of these nurses say they will be getting vaccinated. They say this isn't political. Don't take it personal and help protect other people. Well, just 1 day after Governor-elect Greg Gianforte said he would look to roll back the statewide mask order, the Butte-Silver Bow Health Department has voted to stop that from happening there. Well, tonight, the board voted to enforce a mask mandate for the county. Community members called into the virtual meeting to voice their thoughts. And while a few thought the mandate would impede on the governor's power, many were in favor of it. The board made it known this is not punishment, and the goal has always been to bring the numbers down. Well, it's time now to check in with Q2 Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire, and I think we almost blew away tonight, Bob.
Yeah, we had a peak wind gust in Billings at 4:53 of 58 miles per hour. Very, very breezy. Now, you'll notice the winds have died down a little bit. These are our current winds. You notice here in Billings, our maximum sustained wind is 22, gusting to 30. That's the number in blue. And as you can see, it's still pretty breezy in eastern Montana. So we still have some watches and warnings in the eastern edge of the state. But here's something interesting. Billings has now been taken out of the high wind warning. Our winds are in process of going down tonight. And so this is some good news. But back here east of the divide, we're still looking at wind speeds going 55 to 65 miles per hour right in through 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. And meanwhile, out in the west, it's a winter weather advisory till 4 a.m. tomorrow morning for snow amounts 1 to 3 inches up there by Great Falls, 2 to 4 by Bozeman, and 1 to 3 in the southwest corner of the state. Now, the winds, they are expected to continue to make their way into the Billings area again tomorrow. We're going to be kind of breezy off and on for the next several days, right on up through and including Christmas. We'll have more on the forecast in a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Well, after a lengthy debate today, Republicans in the Montana House failed to agree on a set of rules for the upcoming 2021 legislature. Now, that failure likely kicks the decision forward to the opening of the session on January 4th in Helena. House Republicans initially proposed changing the rules to allow committee chairs to kill bills without a hearing and to require 67 votes in the full House to bring a bill stuck in committee to the floor. At Tuesday's meeting, a majority of the panel voted to remove those changes. But when it came to passing the recommended rules, several Republicans balked, and the motion failed on a 10-9 vote. Republicans who opposed the rules said they liked the original proposal that gave committee chairs and the Speaker of the House more power. Democrats on the panel also voted against any rule changes because they like the old rules, which are more in their favor. For now, those rules are still in effect. Now, the full House, when it meets in session next month, must now decide how to devise its rules before moving forward. Well, still ahead on the MTN 10 o'clock news on Q2, 2 years after a successful Montana treatment program shockingly shut its doors, 2 former staffers are speaking out. Those details in just a bit. And a little later, we give a salute to our very own Bob McGuire as he wraps up the final days of his 35-year career with Q2. Stay with us.